From a young age, I was exposed to the good news of Jesus, and I heard many stories of God's transformative power. When I was 9 years old, I accepted Jesus into my heart, and I do believe I was saved in that moment. However, it wasn't until several years later that I truly decided to make Jesus the center of my life. My middle and early high school years were rough. I was always short, and I looked really young for my age, so as a result, nobody really took me seriously. And I began to crave acceptance from others, hoping that if only people took me seriously and treated me like everyone else, then I would find that acceptance that I wanted, which I then realized was the love of the world. I didn't realize that God's love for me was so much greater than that. Halfway through my freshman year of high school, COVID shut down all schools, and I was kind of trapped at home with nothing but my own thoughts. Suddenly, I didn't have to worry about others' acceptance because there quite literally was nobody else around me. I finally learned how to be myself without putting up a front to gain other people's acceptance. It was a freeing feeling, and suddenly, since I no longer had people-pleasing at the forefront of my mind, I began to think about other things, such as why I believed what I believed. My life is a car. Up until that point, Jesus had been in the back seat. The weight of Jesus' death on the cross began to hit me in a more profound way, and I began to feel more remorseful for my sins. The weight of my sins settled in on me, and I realized that Jesus died 2,000 years ago for me. He was beaten, scourged, mocked, put on a cross, crucified. They nailed nails into his hands for me and for you. Romans 10:13 says, "Everyone who calls on the name of the Lord will be saved." Sometime at the end of summer of 2021, I decided to make Christ the center of my life. Not in the back seat, not even in the passenger seat, but in the driver's seat. I knew that it would be the best plan for my life because Romans 10:11 says, "Everyone who believes in him will not be put to shame." Coming back to school in person for my junior year of high school, I was no longer controlled by a desire to please others, no longer controlled by a desire for the acceptance of other people. My worth no longer came from others. It came from being a son of God, and that is enough. Since then, I've found joy in my life that is unparalleled with anything I have found outside of Christ. Because of Jesus' death and resurrection, I have found my true worth and belonging in Christ, and I hope that you too can share in the joy and belonging that I feel. Romans 10:9 says, "If you confess with your mouth that Jesus is Lord and believe with your heart that God raised him from the dead, you will be saved." In the years since I made that decision to make Christ the center of my life, I've still had many struggles and tribulations. However, Jesus never promised it would be easy. In fact, a lot of his ministry and his preaching pointed to quite the opposite. But one thing I can promise is that nothing or no one is worth following when compared to him. And like Romans says, we will not be put to shame if we believe in him. So we know that his plan for us is infinitely better than any plan that we have for ourselves. Now I just have to think of something funny to say so that they can end the video. I'm just gonna go.